Okay, we are streaming.
All right, good afternoon. This is Monday, March 1st, and I call to order the regular meeting of the Lincoln County Board of Commissioners. We are meeting virtually, and first item on our agenda would be to establish a quorum. We have all three commissioners present, which does constitute a quorum. This is also the first meeting of the month, and we have a couple of recognitions that we do at the first meeting of each month. The first is to recognize employees on their 5-year anniversary or multiple of 5 years that they have worked for the county. And it's really my pleasure to recognize 7 individuals this month. And it looks like all combined, we've got somewhere in the neighborhood of, what's that, 25, 45, 50, 80 years experience. So I hope these people have been able to join us. And when I call out your name, if you want to turn your microphone on or turn your camera on or wave or do something to let us know you're present, that'd be appreciated. If you're not able to be here, we understand. But first, I'll recognize Eileen Wright, 5 years in Health and Human Services. Is Eileen with us? I don't see any indication, so we'll move on. But again, thank you, Eileen. We have Heather Pierce, 5 years also with Health and Human Services. Not sure Heather is with us either, but again, thank you. Robin Howard, 5 years out of the District Attorney's Office. All right, Stephen Haggard, 5 years in the Planning Department. Christopher Cornwell, 10 years in Public Works. All right, and then 2 that have been with us for quite a while. Linda Gray, 25 years in Health and Human Services. Linda, are you with us? And I don't see Linda. And then last, want to recognize Donna Boyce for 35 years in the Health and Human Services Department. Donna, are you with us? I'm going to give a special shout out to Donna. Our 3rd child, Courtney, was born 29 years ago. And I remember when Donna came and visited us, and Courtney was a newborn and part of the county services to visit newborn and the parent. So known Donna for a long time. All right.
I would just add, Commissioner Hunt, that I believe it was also Donna that came and visited me with my first baby. So
all right.
There we go.
All right. Very good. All right, and again, heartfelt thanks for all the good work that these employees have done and the services that they've provided to our the people of our county. So many thanks. Move on. Jaylene, are you with us? Believe. Well, I don't see Jaylene. Anyone from the personnel department? Well, I will try to introduce these people. I don't know if you're present or not, but if you are, again, turn your mic on or turn your camera on and give us a shout out if you're there. Start out with Ellen Brand. Well, let's start at the other end. Mahania Moga in the District Attorney's Office. All right. Again, these are new hires. Hannah Zavacki, also in the District Attorney's Office. Ellen Fisher, Case Manager in Health and Human Services. There's Ellen. Thank you. Did I get your name right, Ellen?
No, it's actually Elin.
Elin. That's why I asked. My wife will tell you English is a second language for me. There is no other primary language but English. Anyhow, thank you and welcome to the county. Joseph Wade, contract employee for Health and Human Services. Eric Vaughn, a contract employee with Health and Human Services. All right, and Ellen Branford, the Chief Executive in the District Attorney's Office. Ellen, are you with us? All right, well, wanted an opportunity to recognize new hires. As I usually say, don't make it 5 years when you come and visit us again for your 5-year anniversary recognition. But welcome to the county, and I know all of the commissioners are certainly available and welcome an opportunity to discuss issues of concerns or your interests. So welcome to the county. All right, if there's nothing else at the moment, we'll move on to the adoption of the consent calendar. These are items of a routine nature or items that have come before the board before. It's an opportunity for staff or commissioners to highlight an item of interest. Otherwise, I'll entertain a motion to adopt the consent calendar as presented.
I will make a motion to adopt the consent calendar as presented.
I'll second that motion.
All those in favor, say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Katie, I assume you said aye. I didn't hear you. You're muted, I think. There you go. All right. Thank you. It was unanimous. All right. Next on our agenda are some decision and action items. The first one is an extension of our declaration of emergency related to the COVID-19 pandemic and Council Belmont.
Commissioners, we've been periodically examining the need for these particular emergency declarations and the continuation of those declarations. The governor last week extended the state emergency to May 2nd, another 60 days, and we're recommending that you do our extension through May 5th. That'll allow us to come back on a Monday, May 3rd, to examine where we are in the process of our response to this particular crisis and decide what we do at that time.
Questions or comments from my fellow commissioners?
None, I'm in support.
I'm as well. I would just say that we do hope we are coming out of the tunnel, so to speak, and hopefully in May we'll feel like we are, closer to not need this, but I feel like it's the most needed.
All right, I'll entertain a motion to approve the resolution.
I so move.
A second.
Any other discussion? All those in favor say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
Gotcha, Katie. It's unanimous. The resolution is approved. Next item would be a rate adjustment for North Lincoln Sanitary Service. This is an amendment. Council Belmont, I believe you have some introductory remarks, and I see that Tina French from North Lincoln Sanitary is with us also. So normally we'd let the lady go first, but in this case, Wayne, why don't you provide some prefacing remarks?
Thank you, Chair Hunt. And Christy, can you make me a presenter? And while she's doing that, as you may recall, back in August, we did our annual review of the uniform rate reporting format in the Lincoln County Code for the franchise for North Lincoln County, North Lincoln Sanitary for the northern part of Lincoln County. They have the unincorporated areas around Lincoln City and also Depot Bay as part of their franchise area. And during the process of doing that review in August, Tina and North Lincoln presented to us a proposed new service of what they call curbside compostables, which is a yard debris and composting program. And at that time, there was a discussion of having that start in March of 2021, which is, of course, where we are today. In reviewing that particular proposal and the rate reporting changes that were being made at that time, you went ahead and authorized the rate reporting changes, but established that you would do a separate order to set the rate for the compostable program after Tina and North Lincoln went to the city of Lincoln City and confirmed that the program would be acceptable to the city of Lincoln City. It really has those the economies of scale that it requires both the unincorporated area and the incorporated area to make this particular program work. and then to come back to us when that program was together and we would establish the rate. And that has been done. At this point, the city of Lincoln City is standing up this program as well as the unincorporated areas of the county and at the proposed rate that was provided to us back in August. And so I would like to, let me see if I can do, hold on just a second here.
We're all waiting with bated breath, Wayne.
Well, it's always me trying to get, can you see this now? There we go.
Yeah, good
This is a
work.
graphic that Tina provided to us. It's similar to something that's been provided to the customers for North Lincoln and explains really what this program is. And I'm going to turn it over to Tina at this time to just do another review with you of what the program entails and then answer any questions that you might have on the program. So with that, Tina.
Welcome,
Good
Tina.
afternoon. Thank you for having me. And today is a perfect day to have me because today started our program. So we ran our very first route today and it went well. Obviously, there wasn't a lot of material out there because we've been delivering roll carts for the last few weeks. And we began educating on this program in December of 2020 through Facebook, bill stuffers, and our website, newspaper articles, any way we could. Paul Seitz with the Lincoln County Solid Waste District has been amazing. I can't thank him enough for him coming alongside of us and really helping us roll out this new program. That's been a huge blessing because I don't remember rolling out recycling being this much work, quite honestly. I realize that we're a little bit bigger company than we were when we rolled that out, but this has been a lot of people doing a whole lot of work, and it all came together today. So I'm pretty proud of our staff. My husband, Lon, has been doing all of the routing to make it as efficient. He literally went stop by and did directions for the drivers, and so that we're not just sending trucks willy-nilly driving the garbage routes that may or may not have compost containers. So that has been exhaustive. Colin team has been doing all of our PR. He got a promotion the other day in the newspaper. I saw that he's our new public information officer. So, but that actually is a perfect title for him because he has put in a tremendous amount of work at night. Even I notice he's on Facebook answering people's questions as fast as they type them. And so that's been great. So in a nutshell, the poster you see in front of you is what we're rolling out. We know, and holler at me, I have horrible internet, so holler at me if I start getting warbly and I will hotspot to my phone. I apologize. We know from state statistics that about 30% of the weight by volume in our garbage can is organics of some sort. And so by far and away, starting an organics collection program is our biggest bang for our buck to reduce the amount of tons sent to the landfill. Now, interestingly enough, it will not be a apples to apples comparison. So if we collect 10 tons of organics and send that to PRC, which is Pacific Region Compost Facility, directly across the highway from Coffin Butte landfill, that does not mean that we will necessarily see a reduction of 10 tons in our landfill, because I'm assuming we are going to get stuff in these roll carts that historically maybe we were not getting in the garbage can, but maybe people are not backyard burning anymore. Maybe people are not putting stuff down their garbage disposal anymore. And we're going to be collecting it into the mixed compostable roll cart. So we are really trying to educate people in different facets that way, not only to move the material from their garbage can to this container, but also quit putting it down your garbage disposal. over 10 years ago, Joe Whistler with the Lincoln City wastewater treatment plant ran some numbers and figured it cost the city of Lincoln City. So all the sewer sludge from the wastewater treatment plant now gets sent to the landfill. So any amount that we can reduce that volume and compost it is a win-win. And then backyard burning. Lincoln City, inside the city limits, has a burn ban. It is not legal to burn inside the city limits of Lincoln City year-round, even during burn season. Obviously, it is legal to burn in unincorporated Lincoln County, but we've been trying to encourage people that maybe instead of backyard burning, try using the cart. And it's less stinky for you, less stinky for your neighbors. It disappears and something great is made out of it versus a stinky fire in your backyard. So we're hoping that it's just, again, it's no different than recycling. It's a change, it's new, and it's going to be a slow move to change behavior. And but I will say that I'm pretty impressed with how many people are excited about it and seem very keen as to how this works. I know that Newport has had the program for several years now, so it could be people that have a crossover, either live in Newport and work up here or vice versa. But I'm pretty excited to get it rolling. We have two weeks so that we've asked time with anybody that they can to do that one-on-one because this is going to be very education intensive, and we know that, and so we're in that for the long haul. But that education is by far and away the best education. I think our challenges are going to be compostable plastic. Rhodes End is our Monday. We had several people already had collected food in their kitchen, but they went out and bought compostable kitchen bags and put their food in there. And unfortunately, those bags are designed for the type of composting that is typically done in California, where they put the material into a concrete bunker. They add heat and water. It's a very quick process, and those bags will break down in that. In Oregon at PRC, where we haul our material, it is a windrow, similar to what you would do in your backyard. They make a pile, they pump air through it, they turn it about 6 times, and it's about a 6-week process. And that 6th time they turn it, they screen it, and it's beautiful black dirt. But it doesn't get very hot, and so therefore it doesn't get hot enough to break down those bags. So we're encouraging people to, when you go to the grocery store, use your own shopping bags, but maybe use one brown paper bag. The compost loves craft paper. Also, like pizza boxes can go in your compost bin. Compost loves that brown paper. So we have, out of almost 8,000 customers, we have about 250 customers on the list to take their roll carts away. Probably 2 to 3 weeks, and we've told because we're finishing delivering the roll carts, and then we'll go back and get them. And quite honestly, it's intentional to be a little bit slow with that because before we started the meeting, but we've already had people on that list calling back and saying, you know what, take us off of that list. We want to keep the roll cart. We've been picking up sticks, whatever, we're going to give it a shot. And that's exactly what we want to happen. But we realize that there are there that this is just not a fit, and they want the cart gone, they don't have room for it, whatever, and that's totally fine. We have about an 80% participation in our mixed commingled recycling. And so as long as we hit that mark, I think that this program will be a huge success. And that would mean that over 1,600 customers would call and have their carts taken away, and we're not even close to that number. I ran some numbers on Lincoln County residential customers. So we have 3,184 residential customers in unincorporated Lincoln County. Only 652 of those customers have the minimum level we offer, which is a 32-gallon roll cart picked up every other week. And that is in compliance with the state statute to have solid waste removed a minimum of every 14 days. So that means that there's 2,000 customers that if they use their mixed compostable roll cart could possibly reduce their garbage service and more than save their $6.85 a month. So we feel pretty good about that we haven't reached that limit where people reduce their solid waste as much as they possibly can. And we're asking them to reduce it even more and they just don't have it to do it. So I thought that was an interesting statistics. I like statistics. And with that, I'm going to quit talking and answer any questions you have.
Commissioners, questions? Go ahead, Katie. Commissioner Jacobson.
Yeah, thank you. Really appreciate that, Tina. We are starting to get some phone calls and emails into our office about, this program. And I'm personally a fan of compostables and don't live in your service area, but live in another one with a similar type of program. And I will say I was not one that was initially on board, but now like it. But we have been getting a lot of calls about the increase in fee for this service for people that, don't think they're going to use it or don't want it. I think what would be very helpful on our end, and I've kind of been through your website trying to find this, and I can't find it. And an easy place is, if people don't have that additional fee and don't think they're going to use compostables, how else could they reduce the service to get that? Simple that we could share with people or point people to your website would be really appreciated. I do really appreciate your point that if you reduce your solid waste by using the compostable bin, then obviously you could maybe go to a smaller bin or different types of service. But I think actually having some of that laid out a little bit for us would be helpful, so that we can kind of be better communicating that.
Absolutely. We are, and you're right, our website is still kind of fire heavy. And so we're in the process right now, and it was supposed to be done by today, of making it more compost heavy. So you'll see this poster on the front page of our website. And then we have never published our rates on our website because I think you've all seen our rate sheets. We offer a lot of different services and sizes, and for our customers to be, our rate sheets, I think, are 8 pages long for all the different municipalities we serve. And so to publish that on our website would be ridiculous. But what we did do is we took the standard service of a 32-gallon roll cart weekly, a 64-gallon roll cart weekly, and a 96-gallon roll cart weekly. And we put the kind of just a base, because each municipality has different franchise fees, and so they're off by just a little bit, but we put a range of the price for that, and to show people that if they reduce their service to every other week on their roll cart, they could save. And so that's why I wanted to give you guys that number, because that's the same conversation we're having with people when they call up of, I don't need this, I don't want it. And then I look at their service and it's like, wow, you have a 64-gallon roll cart dumped every week. What are you filling it up with? And so, it's like, if you would, if you think about 30% of that volume in your 64-gallon roll cart could more than likely go into this can, you could go down to, they would save like $25 or $30 a month by going to a 32-gallon can. And so, when only 652 of our customers in the county are at the minimum level of service already, that tells me that we have a whole lot of customers that are creating a lot more solid waste than your typical family of 2 or 4. And they have a lot of room that they can reduce their solid waste. So those are coming. As soon as it's up, Katie, I will make sure and shoot you an email so you can look at it and see if it's what you're looking for. And so that's a good resource for you and to share, with your constituents as well.
Great, thank you. I think that would help a lot.
Commissioner Hall.
I don't have any questions. I think the presentation has really been helpful and informative, and the only thing I would have asked about would have been exactly what Commissioner Jacobson covered.
Okay, yeah, I would just emphasize, I reached out to Tina and got some background information and did respond to some constituents. And I think when you look at the different frequency with which the garbage can be picked up and the different size of cans, and Tina, I think the information you provided was 652 of over 3,100 customers at the minimal level of service. There's some avenues through which people can save money if that's of interest or critical to them. So thank you. The last thing I'll say is, pay me now or pay me later. Eventually the landfill is going to get full, and my understanding is the nearest one is way over in Eastern Oregon and a long ways away. So
It's a very long ways.
yeah, very long. So certainly I support composting, and it is kind of a win-win situation. But the other factor is, in the long run, that landfill is going to get filled up, and there's going to be, I think, a substantial increase in transportation costs. So something to keep in mind.
Well,
Anything else?
As a
Go ahead.
comparison, when we rolled out curbside recycling, we had the same phone calls, and I was talking to a customer that was extremely upset over this mixed compostable roll cart. And I said, do you remember when you got your recycle roll cart? And he's like, yes, and I didn't want that either. And I said, so if I came to pick up your recycle roll cart today, how would you feel about that? And he's like, well, why would you do that? And I said, well, because you didn't want it, you didn't. And he's like, well, I use that all the time now. And I said, well, I know. So why? Mixed compostables is no different. It's just change. And I get it. And we're trying to be very patient with people that change is change. And, there's a certain personalities really hate change, and they really hate it when they are told they have to do it. And that's the people that are, the most upset, and probably the same people that you're hearing from. I didn't want this. I didn't ask for it. I shouldn't have to pay for it. But it's no different. And I mean, I can tell you, they would hang me in the middle of Highway 101 if I went and picked up recyclable carts today. And so, and as a price comparison, we charged $4.22 in 2008 for mixed recycling. So 14 years ago almost. And we were getting paid at the time for recycling. And so, I think this is a great deal, is what I'm saying, to have this service for $6.85. I think that, 6 months and a year from now, we won't be hearing complaints about it.
All right, point well made. Any other questions or comments? All right, Tina, thank you very much. Keep up the good work. I love the tulips, I think. Are those red tulips? All right, very good. Thank you. All right, next on our agenda is appointment of
Commissioners, I'm sorry, Chair Hunt, can we get a motion on the order? We have an order to actually do the amendment today.
I thought it was such a good presentation, I got sidetracked. I will entertain a motion to approve the rate adjustment for North Lincoln Sanitary Service amendment.
Also move.
I will second.
Any other discussion? All those in favor say aye. Aye.
Aye.
All right, that passes unanimously, and thank you again, Tina. All right, now we will move on to the order appointing Eli Adam as our county surveyor. Council Belmont, comments?
Yes, Commissioners, I know you are very aware, but I'm not sure how many people in the public are aware. After 33 years, 10 months, and 26 days. Our former county surveyor, John Waffenschmidt, has retired effective last Friday. John is going to be enjoying time off now, although he will be working with us under a contract doing some special projects. And you have selected as the next county surveyor someone who has been involved with the county for a number of years now, Eli Adam. And so we need to make the formal appointment of Eli as the Lincoln County surveyor. So I've prepared an order to do so. Eli is here with us today, and he might be able to provide you with a little bit, or the public at least, with a little bit of information about his background and what he hopes to do with the office.
Go ahead, Adam, or Eli.
Yes, thank you, Chair Hunt and Commissioners Jacobson and Hall. I am honored by appointment to the office of County Surveyor and appreciate the trust and confidence you've placed in me. John has left a significant legacy in surveying GIS and IT at Lincoln County and beyond. I look forward to following in his footsteps and blazing a new trail in the future while providing essential public services, both legally required and locally desired, in an efficient, effective, and respectful manner. Thank you.
Questions or comments from my fellow commissioners?
Eli, for the public's benefit, could you tell us how long you've been with the county?
Yes, I've worked at the county for 14 years now in a variety of capacities, most recently surveying, but also a background in GIS and IT a little bit.
I think maybe Chair Hunt, it would be good to mention that even though we always do an open search for director level positions, that I think we do have kind of almost an unstated consensus that we prefer to promote within whenever possible. And certainly I would say Eli's background, training, experience more than qualifies him for the position.
Would agree. Commissioner Jacobson?
I would say I don't necessarily have a consensus that we favor internal candidates over external candidates. I actually disagree with that. I believe in a full open search for all our director positions, but Eli was the clear choice and clear candidate for that open search that we did.
Yeah, I was going to add, we actually did do a search for a surveyor and did interview other candidates, and Eli was the successful candidate through that entire process. So there were other applicants besides Eli, and they were applicants from outside of the county. So certainly I think that anytime we have director positions, we should go through that process. And sometimes any internal candidate is successful and sometimes not. But with that, I will confess, Eli, that it took me a long time to get John's last name down correctly. You've seen me butcher a few names already today, so I'm going to say thanks for having an easy name. As long as I can remember that Eli is your first name and Adam is your last name, I think I'll be okay. So again, congratulations. Welcome to a director position within the county. And if there are no other comments, I'll entertain a motion to approve the order.
I will make a motion to appoint Eli Adam as Lincoln County Surveyor.
I'll second that.
Any other discussion? All those in favor say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
It's unanimous, Adam.
Well,
Eli.
welcome again, I guess.
Welcome.
Thank you.
And look forward to working with you.
Indeed.
All right. We'll move on to reports. And at this point, we have a report from our Deputy Director of Public Health, Florence Portal. Florence, give us the latest. I know it's been good news now for a week.
Yes. Good afternoon, everybody. Yes, good news that as you can see on this chart, we're trending down nicely and keeping keeping there. Over the last 2 weeks, we had 18 cases reported to us of COVID-19. So that's good. You can scroll down a little bit. Maybe. Can we have a scroll down?
There we go.
Thank you. So as you can see, 67 cases reported to us in February, which put us back to numbers that were sorry, rephrase. This takes us back to lower numbers that we've seen in October and prior to that. So that is very exciting news. And as I mentioned earlier, if you scroll down just a little bit, you can see that our case rate per 100,000 is still under 50 per 100,000, which maintains us at this time in the low risk category. Can you scroll down again, please? Thank you.
If I may, Florence, before we get
Yes.
into vaccinations, I'll ask my fellow commissioners any questions on cases or the risk categories.
No questions. I would just say a big woo-hoo for keeping moderate and doing right to low. And, it kind of takes everybody. It's definitely a group project to get there.
Yes.
But you're always
Yes.
a little more challenging, I found when I was in school. So just thanks to everybody for helping us get there.
Chair Hunt, I would second those sentiments and also remind people, that we have accomplished, certainly the public health team and as a community have accomplished something extraordinary. For instance, our coastal neighbor down south a ways, Coos County, I believe, moved all the way up into extreme risk recently. And I saw a report that they had 42 new cases in one day. So let's hold on to this. Let's encourage people to keep doing the right things.
I would echo those comments. Certainly, it's at times it hasn't been easy, and at times there's been, I'll say, significant pushback. But I think right now we're seeing the fruits of some of those efforts. So good work to the team. All right, tell us about the vaccinations.
Well, I'll start with more good news. So, as you remember that 2 weeks ago, vaccines didn't ship because they were stuck because of winter weather. So we postponed some clinics. So last week we vaccinated over 2,600 individuals in Lincoln County. Between the first dose clinics and second dose clinics, we were busy. And when I say we, is the community as a whole, everybody who's, contributing to this work. So this is very, very exciting. This week we have a few clinics planned. We actually have 4 first dose clinics planned. And the reason for that, and we don't have any second doses, because as you remember, 4 weeks ago, we received 0 doses from the state, so we don't have any second dose clinics. So we'll have 2 first dose clinics at the Taft Fire Station in Lincoln City, and we have 500 individuals in the schedule. And then we're gonna do 2 first dose clinics at the fairgrounds in Newport, and we're gonna have about 950 people scheduled into those clinics. So that's about 1,400 additional individuals who will receive a vaccine this week. And of course, the schedules are full. The reason for that, because I know, you've seen and you've heard from people like maybe some frustration about, oh, you sent us an email, or to tell us that you have a clinic and we can schedule ourselves, and then when we get to the scheduling link, it's already full. And so I just wanted to put things in perspective for people a little bit. So last week when we sent those emails, we sent 7,200 emails out for 1,400 slots available. So, and we did this because we made that commitment to folks that if you are on the wait list and you're eligible, we'll send you an email to let you know that you can schedule yourself. And unfortunately, until we have enough vaccines, to vaccinate 7,200 people in a week, some are going to be luckier than others. So I wanted to put that out there. I also wanted to touch base a little bit on the wait list, since I'm there already, to kind of give you a little bit more information. I know Commissioner Jacobson, you had a question last week about wait lists and how that works. So at this time, we have over 11,350 entries onto that wait list. So what that means is those are not necessarily single entries, because either some people have registered themselves once and they're being patient, and others, I think, I don't know if it's anxiety or they're not really sure if their initial registration worked. So we have a few duplicates in the waitlist. So this is why I refer to those as entries and not necessarily individuals. But still, that's plenty of entries. And the really good news, and those only concerns entries for people who are age 65 and over, which means that we have way more entries for, other people who are under 65 and have already registered on this waitlist. We have a very good news that came to us today, is that one person reached out to us to help us volunteer, and she has a data management background, and her background check cleared, and she started working with us today. So that's going to help us clean out the wait list out of all those duplicates, which is going to be really great. And then we're going to be able to cross-reference all of the people who have received a vaccine from the beginning of vaccination days to now, and then we are going to be able to not necessarily remove them from the wait list, but at least identify them as being, vaccinated or in the midst of being vaccinated. And so that means that we won't have to re-email people over and over. So that's great. And also when we have, as you know, sometimes we get extra doses out of the vials during clinics, and so we tend to call people at the end of the day to come in. But because we haven't been able to do that that cross-reference, sometimes we call people and that, oh, thanks for calling, but I got my shot last week or whatever. So that's gonna make us for a very much more efficient workload on our end, which is very, very, very exciting. So the other piece of good news that I wanted to discuss is that we have we started partnering with home health agencies and pharmacies, which is exciting. Home health agencies at this time are able to contact us, schedule their patient who wants a vaccine into the vaccination clinics, and then they come into the clinic, get the vaccine, and then go and vaccinate folks at home, which has been successful. We started that last week, and that went really well. So the other update I wanted to put out there is about the call center. And we know that people have been trying to reach the call center. At this time, it's staffed with 5 or 6 full-time folks every day. I mean, every day, Monday to Friday. But we didn't have, there are not enough phone lines to ensure that everybody who is calling, and it's quite the call volume. So we are making a change and having our IT folks adding some additional lines. So hopefully the wait time is going to be shorter than it has been. And then the other piece that I wanted to discuss was around the Johnson & Johnson vaccine. As you know, it has received the emergency use authorization from the FDA. I believe it was on Friday of last week. So this is good news. It's likely, we don't know yet, but it's likely that we will receive some doses in Oregon soon. There is an initial conversation at the state level to see who could be a recipient of those vaccines, just because it's a one dose. And so the initial conversation is going possibly to be around folks who might be more difficult to reach, maybe for a second dose. So let's say you're an adult in custody, you receive the first dose in jail, and then you get out of jail, and then you might not show up to your second dose. So those folks may be prioritized, maybe people who are houseless, just because same thing, that might be hard maybe to track a follow-up appointment and things like that. But I will be sure to update you as soon as we have more guidance on this. And the last piece is that we have new guidance as to who is going to become eligible for the vaccine. So the good news is that we have the entire month of March to focus on 65 and older. So that's good. And then starting on March 29th, we will have additional folks coming online, including essential worker group and people with underlying chronic conditions that have been identified by the CDC. And I believe the age range is 45 to 64. And then essential workers, individual experiencing houselessness, people currently displaced by wildfires, wildland firefighters, and people who live in low income, senior housing, senior congregate, and independent living. Any questions? I know that was a very long update.
Good information. Commissioner Hall, I saw your microphone turn green first.
Yes, lots of good news, and I'm really pleased we're going to be adding phone capacity. I have heard from multiple people, I think their greatest frustration is when they try to call in during business hours, nobody answers, they don't get a busy signal or a message that all lines are busy, the line just goes dead. So it will be, I think, really a plus in our improvement in our customer service to have this added capacity.
Commissioner Jacobson.
Yeah, two questions. One is just to confirm, so if you were one of those 7,200 people that received an email and just didn't get it in time or didn't respond in time or what have you, did not get an appointment, I'm assuming that you just get emailed again the following week when it's available. Correct. Okay. And same goes if you got a phone message, if you're not on email and you missed the call or thought it was a telemarketer or whatever. I'm assuming that we will try those people again when there's appointments available.
Yes, and actually we have a special list. So out of all of those folks who registered on the wait list, we have identified those who never provided an email, and so we are outreaching directly to them to make sure that they can get scheduled. And if they're and a lot of them, we did that, Shelly and I actually did that part of the day today, and a lot of them are in scheduled already or are scheduled or already got a vaccine. So yes, we have a special plan for this.
All right, thank you. And then the other question I have, which is at sort of the very bottom of the page, so maybe we can scroll up just a little bit, was I just wanted to know how it was going with pharmacies. I know it was just 2 weeks ago, but I think actually last week where they actually received vaccines. And I know they're on our website. I've kind of followed those links, but have we actually had pharmacies give vaccines in this county yet?
Yeah, so we know of Safeway Pharmacy through the grapevine because we scheduled a meeting last week with all of the pharmacy partners in the community. What we heard is that most pharmacies, aside from Safeway, has been vaccinating, but the others are gearing up. They're getting ready. They have their scheduling system in place. They have the storage capability. They even told us, they're thinking, most of them are thinking that they're going to be able to do about 100 to 200 vaccine a week once they receive the vaccine. But as of last week, they had not received the vaccine yet. So we have one pharmacy that requested that we transfer some vaccine, which we did, and they will reach out directly to their patient caseload and go from there.
I really think that's going to help
Yes.
let those pharmacies up and going. I think that'll help a great deal, as it does with flu clinics and flu shots and that kind of thing. So
Yes, I think from what we calculated after the meeting last week, if everybody comes online and is able to do 200 vaccines a week, we would be able to do at least an additional 1,200 individuals a week. So that's exciting.
yeah, that's wonderful. And the last thing I have to say is I volunteered at one of the clinics last week and kind of worked the front door, and I have not physically worked that hard at a job for a really long time. I was exhausted after I did it because it moves. You got everyone moving at a pretty fast pace there, but a fairly happy place to be. Everyone was well organized and prepared. Everyone coming in was generally happy. I thought staff and volunteers were just doing a great job. And generally things went really great. It was just a nice way to contribute and see what was going on the floor, and lots of people from our community coming in and getting vaccinated, and really touched by the amount of neighbors and people helping each other get there.
Mm-hmm.
Lots of people helping our seniors, get there. And there was even somebody that kind of signed up their whole neighborhood that was over the age of 80 and rounded them up and got them there. And it was just really nice to see people helping each other get vaccinated.
That's really good to hear. And thank you for your work. I've held that position before, and yes, it's demanding.
Yeah. I wish I would have worn better shoes. That's what I learned.
So Florence, can you provide an update on what's happening in South County as far as trying to get a clinic established? I see it on the list, but maybe a little clarity.
Yes, of course. So I believe we're through with the MOU with the city of Waldport, and so they pretty much are gonna loan us the community center, which is very exciting because it's a great location, and I believe we'll be able to run a nice clinic, and so our hope is. I still have to talk to some of our partners to see if they will be able and willing to take it on. But our hope is to have one clinic in Waldport, possibly once a week, depending on vaccine availability and staffing availability, and hopefully that will be in place before the end of March.
Okay, thank you. Last comment I'll make is we are one of 10 counties in the state at the low risk level. That means there are 26 that are higher. So that kind of puts our success in perspective, I think. So if there are no more comments or questions from the commissioners, I'll say thank you, Florence. Keep up the good work. I really appreciate it. So,
Yeah,
thank you.
You're very welcome.
You know,
I'll see you at 5:30.
Yeah, 5:30.
Okay.
All right. Next item is a report on the Echo Mountain Fire Complex, and I will in advance express my appreciation to our two guests from ODOT for your patience. And I'm not sure, I saw Mac's camera come on first, but I see Anna's now. Who would like to go first? It looks like, oh, Katie, you're muted, but go ahead if you
I just realized my battery is about to go dead, so I'm gonna turn my camera off for just a minute and run to go plug it in, but I am still here.
All right, very good, thank you. And with that, back to our representatives from ODOT.
Yeah, commissioners, thank you. This is Macklin, Deputy Division Administrator for Delivering Operations for ODOT. I'll allow Anna to introduce herself as well. Anna, do you want to go next?
Sure. Anna Henson, ODOT. I'm the North Operations Chief for the wildfire recovery work. Thanks for having us here.
Yeah, thank you. I kind of wish we weren't in the pandemic for many, many reasons, but chief among them is I've missed the opportunity to drive to the coast today. It looks beautiful over there. So appreciate
It's been raining for about 30 days though, so.
Commissioner, my experience with the coast is whenever you want to go there, it's raining. Whenever you can't go there, it's beautiful. So thanks for allowing us a few minutes here to update you. I'll hit at a high kind of level where we're at in the state with our wildfire cleanup efforts, and then I'll turn it over to Ms. Henson to really speak to specifics about Echo Mountain. Ms. Peter, I believe you're controlling the screen. If I say next slide, is that okay with you? Thank you. Yeah, go ahead and roll to the next one. So just to kind of capture where we're at as a state, so ODOT took on the lead responsibility of cleaning up after these devastating wildfires. We're operating in 8 counties across the state. And as you may be aware, the first step was removing household hazardous waste. Through the Department of Environmental Quality, we actually worked with the US EPA to complete that mission. A resounding success, able to get in there quickly and complete that mission. Step 2 is the removal of ash and debris on these home sites, as well as businesses across the state, and a lot of hazard trees along ODOT highways, as well as some other public roads and infrastructure. So we've got a fairly significant mission across the state. It's predicted or forecasted to take up to about 18 months or so, not for every home site to get cleared, but we have a really big mission in front of us. And obviously, first and foremost is what are we doing to help people get back to their homes in a fast and effective manner so they can rebuild. So just want to convey that no amount of speed will be fast enough, but we are working aggressively with our partners and with FEMA to deliver this project as quickly as we can. So next slide, please.
So Matt, this is Doug, if I may interrupt briefly, is that timetable for Lincoln County or Echo Mountain, or is it statewide?
Thank you, Commissioner, for that question. That's statewide. And I'll allow Anna or Ms. Henson to speak to probably where we're at from a schedule standpoint with Echo Mountain, but yeah, it's pretty extensive statewide. So yeah, statewide effort.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, absolutely, Commissioner. The other thing just mentioning is just there's a lot of steps that are involved. And if you witnessed any of the cleanup yourself in that community, there's a lot of work to be done, from removing that hazardous materials, like I mentioned. If someone didn't sign up for our program early enough to get household hazardous waste, we will be doing that as part of our cleanup process, so they didn't miss a step. Number 2, there's a lot of permitting, environmental testing, asbestos testing, just site prep, a lot of work that we do before we get construction crews in there to actually clean up the property. And we're finding that's a pretty extensive effort and probably taking a little longer than any of us would like, but necessary steps to ensure we've got the permits and the kind of right approvals in place, but also that we've got a way to hold our contractors accountable to the work they're doing. Number 3 is removing hazardous trees. So you can imagine On a lot of these sites, it's just unsafe for someone to even enter the property with the threat of another tree coming down. I know there's been some questions around what about folks that potentially drop out of our program or have someone come in and do the cleanup for them ahead of when we get there, or potentially do the work themselves. Will we still come in and remove those hazardous trees? And the answer is yes. Oregon is focused on making those home sites rebuild ready. We just need to make sure we've got a right of entry to enter folks' property and do that work. It does impact how much FEMA funding we may get in the end, but that's not our goal. Our goal is to get home sites ready for rebuild. The fourth step is really the big one, is getting in there and cleaning up that ash and debris. So it's not just, making a clear path into the home site and removing those hazard trees. It's cleaning up all the steel, other materials that maybe didn't burn in the process, as well as the ash footprint and the concrete, as long as the homeowner is willing to let us do that, removing the concrete slabs so they are rebuild ready. And then the final steps are doing soil sampling. So in the words of someone that I worked with early on in this, so that a 3-year-old could play on that property. That's the cleanup after, so that someone can show that they can rebuild on their home site and be ready to go. And then finally, that rebuild activity. So there's a lot of steps, moving parts involved, a lot of people, and not surprisingly, a lot of money as well. But certainly the goal of getting home sites ready to rebuild. Next slide, please. Just by the numbers statewide, so Commissioner Hunt, just your question around how are we looking timeline-wise, I think it's always important to just kind of ground every audience I'm in front of, just the scope and magnitude of these fires across the state. It destroyed 4,000 homes or so, and we're working to clean up probably about half of those. A number of the others are already being cleaned up by insurance. The people are doing it by themselves, or other private contractors out there cleaning up the work. But we've got a lot of efforts in play. We're up to 450 home sites, just over north of that, being cleared right now. You can see some of the other stats around how many tons of ash and debris have already been removed across the state. We've got a lot of people involved, and then not the focus of today's presentation, but we're estimating to cut down somewhere close to 300,000 trees along highways that are a hazard to the highways. So it may not fall right now, but those trees will fall within the next 5 years. And so we're clearing those out. And I'll just mention, because we're all Oregonians, when you try to drive some of these corridors, it's a pretty stark landscape change. The McKenzie River up Highway 126 is where we're having the biggest cleanup effort so far around hazard trees, and we're getting a lot of negative reactions, and rightly so. It's a stark change to the landscape when that many trees are removed. But just singling out kind of where we're at with our efforts across the state, and how many individuals are working with us to allow us to help them make their home sites rebuild ready. Next slide, please.
Before you move on, sorry, I'm going to interrupt again.
That's okay.
Back to that slide, please. There we go. I think this is a great slide for two reasons. Number one, it shows the daunting effort that has to be undertaken to really address the wildfires throughout the state. But I also like it because if you look at the legend on the bottom and you look at Echo Mountain, our county's doing pretty doggone well as far as the overall progress. So I like that slide for two reasons. It shows the challenge, and it shows that Echo Mountains, we're doing pretty good. So I've said enough on that.
Commissioner Hunt, I appreciate that comment, and not to downplay the devastation that others perceive, that other counties or areas had occurred to them. But in the early days of this discussion, I think everyone was focused on the devastation in their communities. And we have to look no further than Jackson County to the far south. They have 2/3 of the destruction in the state. And so we are going to be putting a lot more resources down there and trying to, and we're going to be in that cleanup for a lot longer than we may be up in Echo Mountain. So it's
I think overall it shows great work in all areas. So
thank you for that. we'll roll to the next slide, and I'll be brief here and then turn it over to Anna. But next slide. So just point out, we put the link in here in a couple places, but we've got a dashboard. For some reason, when I converted this to PDF, it kind of stretched it sideways. My apologies. But go online if you wouldn't mind and check out the information that we do have around status. You can pull up individual information around each fire area, as well as to Commissioner Hunt's comment, just our overall impact and resource that we're putting towards this. It's updated several times a day with additional information. So just encourage you to look at. There's also a map. So if you're a homeowner, you can zero in on what the status is in your area or your community, what part of the process your home site is in. And then next slide, leave you with some links to all of our information. And I'll point out that hotline at the bottom. That's always available in staff for folks to call, and certainly encourage property owners to make that call if they're curious what's going on. We have people that are up to speed on our plans and can walk them through any concerns or let them know maybe where we're at in the schedule. So just another plug for the different communication channels we've got out there, as well as that hotline. So with that, that's kind of broad picture where we're at. We're in operations all across the state. Snow is not helping us. Rain isn't helping us. Right, we're trying to do this in the middle of winter, but we are kind of in the motions of kind of getting out of that pre-planning or staging work and really starting to ramp up a lot of crews out in the field cleaning up these home sites. So you're going to start to see a dramatic increase of excavators and dump trucks and crews. So with that, I turn it over to Ms. Henson to probably speak specifically about Echo Mountain unless there's questions.
Before we turn it over to Ms. Henson, questions from commissioners. I saw Commissioner Hall.
Thank you, Commissioner Hunt, and thanks for this information. Is this PowerPoint available on your website, or how can we access it?
Commissioner Hall, I just, we shared it right before the meeting started with Ms. Peter, so she has that to share with you. And we can post it to our website if you would find value to that.
I think it's good information, but Christy, could you forward it along to each of us, please? Thanks.
Yeah.
And Commissioner Hall, if I could apologize, we got this to you guys right before your meeting started, so appreciate
No
that.
problem.
Appreciate that.
We made you wait, so I guess it's a fair trade. Anything, Commissioner Jacobson, at this point?
One thing I would just say, I'm really happy to hear that the tree issue was resolved. I know that came up last week, and I think it was resolved as quickly as it came up as an issue. So I'm just really happy to hear that. Because obviously, even if the debris is off your property, but you have hazard trees hanging over your lot, you're not able to rebuild. So thanks for working with us to get that issue resolved. Appreciate it.
I think before we turn over to Ms. Hanson, I think I'd just flag, if you guys are hearing rumors, have questions, especially as constituents are working out to you, please let us know. Certainly your PIO is plugged in as well, but there is rife with misinformation out there, and we're trying to do everything we can to clear up any inconsistencies or confusion, as well as relying on our website of materials and information. But Commissioner Jacobson, that's a great example of it gets pretty weedy sometimes, and we're trying to simplify it. So Anna, why don't you go ahead and hit where we're at with Echo Mountain, if you wouldn't mind.
You bet. Thank you. Thanks for having us. I appreciate it. And I can tell you, what kind of progress we've made to date. Out of 117 active rights of entry, 8 home sites have been completed. So that means we're in the soil testing phase. When Mr. Lind had his presentation, that's like the last step before the property owner can get his cleanup letter or her cleanup letter. So 2 of those home sites have come back high in RCRA metals, so we'll have to go back and re-scrape 3 to 6 more inches, and then we'll retest. So we're making progress. Our monitoring consultant, CDR McGuire, they're ramping up. Our contractor has received several work orders with multiple sites. And we're gonna see them, I was out there today, they're working, we're gonna see them out there all week. As they pick up their pace, we'll probably see home sites getting cleaned up. I would say maybe 1.5 to 2 per day. And it's really great to see some progress. So one of the things that I think is really important is that folks know that they can opt back in to step 2 if they've chosen to opt out. Like Max shared, we are going back into folks' sites and we will take care of hazard trees where we had folks do self-performance cleanup or had, volunteers come in and help clean up. And not only for hazard trees, but also for concrete foundation work and soil scraping. So that's pretty much all I have for an update. I just think you're going to see a lot more activity out there. When I was out there today, like I said, and took some video of our contractor cleaning up, and everybody seems to be, our monitoring consultant seems to be happy with our contractor's work. They're separating out the metal like they should and the concrete like they should, and leaving the sites looking like a clean site. So it's nice to see some work going on. I can tell you that. And so does anybody have any questions for me?
I see, go ahead, Commissioner Hall.
Just curious if you have even a rough timeline of when all 117 sites will be completed?
I think that's a good question, and probably would say no later than the end of April.
Thank you.
You're welcome. One thing I should mention is that the one thing that, so I'm covering 4 fire areas. The one thing that was unique about Echo Mountain is we didn't have a lot of hazard trees to deal with like the other corridors. And so you guys got the benefit of having a contractor start on ash and debris work, the first area in the state. And that means you're finishing probably first. And so that's going to be really nice for the community and for folks that want to get back to their normal lives and rebuild or what they're going to do with their properties. So it seems like April may seem like a long ways away, but it seems like, it's just probably going to be right around the corner before we know it.
Commissioner Jacobson, questions or comments?
Yeah, I do have a question. This might actually kind of be a legal counsel question as well. So maybe ODOT can answer and maybe not, but you had mentioned, Anna, that part of sort of the service of cleanup that the state is providing is kind of a certificate that says your property is clean up, your soil is clean, et cetera. What's the kind of benefit of that? I mean, versus maybe doing it yourself. Obviously, it's up to the landowner, property owner to clean up how they want to, but does that potentially create barriers later on if you sell the property, or kind of what's the benefit in the long term, I guess, of having that certification?
Well, I'll try to answer this, and then Matt can add to it. He was at the beginnings of the days when all this started, and so it's my understanding that getting that 8 RCRA metals, the hazardous metals tested in your soil are metals that form when a house burns. And so that letter will show that your site is clean of those RCRA metals. So it gets you that. And I'm not sure as far as like each jurisdiction, whether or not they think that then the site's ready. And this is where I would need Mac to chime in, like what's a little bit of background on that.
Yeah, I think Commissioner, the other thing I'd add maybe to what Ms. Hanson spoke to is some insurance companies may require that letter of cleanliness. I don't know how else to say that. It's a different letter than what DEQ may issue if there was a hazardous site that was cleaned up. There's an official term, it's escaping me at the moment, but it's really a letter confirming cleanliness of the site after the wildfire. So insurance is one piece. The other piece we've heard come up in other states, and I'm not sure Oregon, we're still testing this, is a future homeowner, if they're going to buy that property, may want that information, or a lending agency may want that information, so that there's no carried forward risk of any sort of issue. So those are the things that I'm aware of, especially in the early days of this conversation of the state taking on this effort. And I think some counties or local jurisdictions are likely considering making different decisions around non-conforming uses or what level of quote unquote clean looks like. In some California counties, I know they've struggled with that, and they actually have a state cleanup requirement that's even more stringent than ours, if I remember correctly. But we chose the standard that DEQ has out there for those heavy metals. So hopefully that adds a little context. I can't think of anything else. I'm not sure if Wayne Belmont might have anything else to add from the local perspective, but those are the things I'm aware of.
This is Wayne. There are no local regulations that require that we have that letter of certificate, but I think all the things that Mac and Anna were talking about are very good reasons to have it. And especially as, there's some disclosure laws in Oregon in terms of the status of your property when you seek it out, getting the insurance proceeds, and also financing. I think that may be something, if it's not immediate, it's something in the future that I would want to have that if it was me. I would like to have that assurance that the property is cleaned and certified.
Okay, thank you. Appreciate it.
Yeah, I guess picking up on that thought, as a banker for 39 years, I don't know that I ever asked for a certification that the property was, I'll say environmentally clean after a fire, but there haven't been a lot of fires where I was lending money. So I think it's probably safe to say that the need for that type of documentation may evolve and become more important, or much more important in the future. I do have a question, and I don't know if this is for Director Kenyon or representatives from ODOT, but 117 right of entries compared to the total number of properties, I guess I would like to have seen more factors. Give me some perspective, please.
Yeah, Commissioner, I guess I'll jump in, and it certainly.
We'll let you.
Yeah, I'm always who's going first here. I would say in general, what we're hearing across the state, and this is probably true for Echo Mountain area as well, is the speed of our operation. A number of folks are pulling out, whether that's because they've got an insurance provider that's covering the costs for them to hire a private contractor to come in and do the cleanup. Maybe they've done the cleanup themselves. I think to Commissioner Jacobson's questions around what can we provide as the state-run effort in a letter of cleanliness at the end, all of those factors are certainly weighing into it. But speed seems to be a big piece of it. And we know that. And I think no amount of speed will be fast enough for us. And that's unfortunately a bit of the reality of doing this work. That's a bit of it. I think, Anna, any other comments or maybe your counterpart from the county?
I'll let Paul chime in, but I agree with Mr. Lynn that it's just what I've heard from people is the time it takes. I will say that we have had a couple people opt back in when they saw our contractor out there working. They're like, oh, it is really happening. And so that got people, we'll clean up their site. So I was happy to hear that, but that's pretty much all I have. Paul Sites probably has a lot more information on that.
A lot more, I don't know. That was kind of my thunder there. I'm just joking. That it was actually a good news report, and that is I've had a number of calls this week of people who are actually interested in not using other services and coming back to the state due to other frustrations. Just a quick comment. I think a lot of folks there were playing double jeopardy. In other words, they were signing up to everything. Whoever wants to get out here first, please do. And now that the state's there, it's the reliable source. And I think people are relying on that reliable source. So I think that's the real heart of where we're seeing this change.
All right, and with that thought, I'll just say with that thought, again, I believe it was Ms. Henson that said you can still sign up or re-sign up. What is that process for people that may choose to do so?
I would recommend they call that hotline number that was on the PowerPoint presentation, the last page, and the AC Disaster folks will help walk them through opting back in or re-signing up, whatever they need to do. They can answer questions as well.
I'll give the phone number. If you don't mind, I'll just give the phone number real quick, Commissioner. It's 503-934-1700. And I would encourage anyone wanting to sign back in, do so soon because they are going to finish in a number of weeks. Thank you.
Okay. Again, my question was not necessarily to create, I guess, any kind of embarrassment. It was simply to try to understand. And I think the important message is the state's here, they're doing the job. And if all of a sudden you want to get, you're a property owner and want to get involved, that opportunity is there. But don't wait too long. All right. Anything else from my fellow commissioners? I see Director Kenyon's microphone's on. You want to add something, Director?
Well, only that I don't know how it's working in other fire areas, but you know, there was a very large volunteer group that was very active for quite some time, and I think that kind of added to the people's concern about, you know, when are they going to get it done, because they did see some stuff happening right away. And I know that, like Max said, you know, it takes time to get the wheels turned on stuff, but I'm thinking that has turned a corner now. And so I think that the volunteer group is probably still going to be active in the area. But I think with ODOT's presence there, that there's probably not going to be any more cancellations on the ROEs. And like Paul said, you know, they're actually up and back up. So I don't think there's going to be any issues now going forward.
Yeah, well, I guess I would just conclude by saying, you know, better late than never. And I think, while it may have been a bit of a wait, the work that's being done seems to be of high caliber. So well worth the wait. Anything to add, Commissioner Jacobson?
Yeah, I would just add that in a previous conversation with Director Kenyon and with Paul, I have directed Paul that as the cleanup is actually taking place by the state in certain neighborhoods, to where you could look out your, like if you don't have a window because your house burned, but you could see on your property and see that progress is taking place, to call those individuals that you previously had an ROE or that did not, that are still not cleaned up, and just say, hey, you know, it's happening, and just kind of give them one last chance to, you know, to sign up if cleanup is taking place in their area. And I know that he has been doing that.
Okay. Very good. Any other comments? All right, I'll again say, go ahead, Mac.
If I could, commissioners, just want to reiterate, when we started this, it's called the state managed locally coordinated approach. And I just want to commend Roy and Paul on this call for their assistance, and anyone else from the county that's helping out. I think it's those kind of conversations right there that are going to be what makes us successful in the end, especially when we start to talk to those outlying individuals that maybe were a little hesitant to sign up. To your point, Paul, when they're seeing it happen in the community, Commissioner Jacobson, when they see it out at their neighbor's place. And we're going to need to rely on you guys to help message that. You know your audience, you know your constituents, you know the community members. So with that's it for me. Just wanted to say thank you, because that's the partnership and why we designed it this way, so to speak. So sorry to jump in there, Commissioner Hunt.
Quite all right. It's one of the challenges of running a virtual meeting. No, I'll just conclude by saying, again, my thanks to both of you for taking time out of what I know are busy schedules. We appreciate the information. I think it's incredibly valuable. And again, I'm not somebody that's always, looking backwards, looking forward. I think the work that's being done is good and certainly appreciate the efforts of the state. So thank you both.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, we'll
Mr.
move
Chair.
on.
Mr. Chair, before we move on from Echo Mountain, could I mention a couple of things, please?
Please do.
Well, Friday afternoon, the news release went out that the Oregon Community Foundation has approved 3 more project turnkey grants, including one for purchase of a 41-unit motel in Lincoln City by Northwest Coastal Housing that will be giving priority to fire refugees. And that deal hasn't closed yet, and Northwest Coastal Housing is advertising for a resident case manager, fire navigator, so we don't know yet exactly how soon it will be operational, but hopefully very soon. And also, Mr. Belmont may have more information on this, but understand the FEMA housing is now in place. There's going to be an open house on Saturday morning, and I will be in attendance representing our board.
Very good. Anything on Echo Mountain, Commissioner Jacobson? Anything more?
Sure, I was going to do it in commissioner reports, but I'll just roll into it right now, if that's all right. So
We're kind of
last week,
sliding in that direction.
it felt like it, yeah. So last week I worked pretty close with Council Belmont, as well as the grant writers that the county uses, and our state elected officials, and we got 2 different asks for dollars for Echo Mountain out the door. One was Business Oregon. That's actually money that came from the e-board. That grant has to be money that we already spent starting on January 1, so it's a little bit kind of after the fact. But in a nutshell, we asked for some dollars to pay ourselves back for Paul's time, for dollars to pay ourselves back for the math process that we went through to try to transition survivors. We're actually still in the middle of mass transition survivors, and do long-term case management of those. We also worked on getting ourselves, in this funding request, a contract to have some better financial assistance with FEMA processes. So that was one request through Business Oregon. We also found out early last week that we were able to make a direct ask to the state budget committee. And so it wasn't until Wednesday of last week we found out what we could actually ask for. But on Friday, we got a proposal into that budget committee for a little under $1 million. And some of the highlights there are dollars to fix public access roads. A lot of these roads were maybe not initially damaged by the actual fire, but all of the equipment coming in, trees being fallen on them, and that kind of stuff, they're really beat up. And what we don't want is for those roads to then become an impediment to people getting manufactured homes in, or that kind of a thing. Also in that package was dollars for septic system inspection, repair, and replacement. Again, we're not on city services out there. While there's usually funding through FEMA for city utilities, and people are on septic, there's really not a funding pot for that. It's an issue that's happening around the state as well. And then additionally, we went after some dollars for water repair for private well systems and private wells. State is doing private well testing, but if that comes back and is not good, there's not necessarily a pot of money to fix whatever is not good about it. And then additionally, we went after money, and that asked the budget committee to extend our core program, which is mental health and resiliency programming, past 8/1, which is when their current grant ends. So all of those requests are out the door, and we're going to be, advocating and shepherd them along as we go through the process.
All right. Well, I have you, Commissioner Jacobson. Any other reports under Commissioner reports?
That's it for now. Thank you.
Back to you, Commissioner Hall. Anything else for Commissioner reports?
No, not right now. Thank you.
All right. I'll just briefly point out that I participated in the Cascade West Area Commission on Transportation, or CWAC, meeting last Thursday night. First, the good news, we had a quorum, so it was nice to have a good turnout from many new representatives of the different jurisdictions within our county. All of the cities and the ports in the tribe have a representative that's on the committee. It's a tri-county committee, so we need substantial representation from all areas, but we did have that. And then the executive committee is comprised of one commissioner from each of the 3 counties, and then one representative from the county that's not a commissioner, that's also a member of the board. And historically, Bill Bain has been our representative on the executive committee, our county's representative. He has served in that role for as long as I've been a county commissioner, which goes back to 2012, and really relied heavily on his expertise in freight trucking and the rail. And he really has provided a tremendous amount of valuable knowledge in those areas. But he felt it was time for a change. And so after a caucus of representatives that were at the meeting from Lincoln County, Betty Kamakawa, who was a city councilor in the city of Toledo, was selected to be the other representative on the executive committee from Lincoln County, in addition to myself. So that would conclude my report. If there are no other reports from commissioners, Council Belmont, do you have something to report?
I do, commissioners. I just want to give you a heads up that next week on March 8th, I will be providing an update to you on the work we've been doing on the STR code amendments and alternatives. And that will include information about scheduling for further public input on some specific proposals that will be made. So stay tuned for that next week.
All right, we will look forward to that, as I'm sure others are. All right, public comment. Christy, can you pull up the listing of public comment? This would be comments since our last meeting on the 22nd. Well, it even goes back further than that. So that's public comment that we've received as of 1 o'clock today. And looks like we've had just a couple since the last meeting. But this again is public comment, not only on the STR short-term rental situation, but any item that the commissioners received comment on. So appreciate that. Public comment. Next item, we will be recessing into an executive session under to discuss labor negotiations pursuant to ORS 192.660 parentheses D. But before we recess, we will not be coming back into public session. So when we recess this, that will conclude the public session. We have a joint work session with the city of Yachats tonight at 5:30. There is a joint work session with the city of Newport on Thursday, March 4th at 5:30. And the next meeting of the regularly scheduled Board of Commissioners will be on Monday, March 8th at 3 p.m. All 3 of those meetings will be virtual. And with that, we will take a 5-minute recess and reconvene in executive session to discuss labor negotiations pursuant to ORS 192.660 parentheses D in 5 minutes, which would be 4:40 p.m. We are in recess.